Look at how beautiful this is, though. Nick is not gonna just come up and kill you. He's gonna do a reasonable spread up here and then harass and try to get you to come to him. And this is great because it's hard to spread during combat, but it's easy to spread before combat. So using these guys to try to bait the Zerg into these guys is a good tactic. Now the problem is that this fungal growth kind of kept his Marauders busy for a long time, and then eventually led to them being killed off in exchange for almost no Zerg kills. But Nick said, oh, that's okay, I'm just going to pick up and go do a drop on his main. And this is a good move, a drop on his main, except for one big problem, is that the Zerg didn't make any banelings. Alright, he went ling infestor, he didn't go ling baneling infestor. And Nick probably should have been able to see that here, or at least to at some point scan the guy's army or figure it out and that kind of stuff. Now, spread out Marines against ling infestor is good. That's a great strategy. But upgrade-wise, we're counting on having an upgrade advantage, and we don't. And lings are significantly stronger than Marines when you have an upgrade advantage. But more important than that, this is the army Nick brought over to here probably 2.5 minutes ago. Let's check. Alright, so the army pushed out at 15 minutes, and Nick dropped it in the guy's base at 17 minutes. It's been 2 minutes since you dropped this army. That means 4 whole spawns of Marines since you made that army. That means your army is, what, about $3,000 smaller than it would have been if you had continued to produce and reinforce with units. So you're going to lose this fight, not because this was a poorly executed attack, and not because this was a bad build, and not because his build counters your build, but it just kind of comes down to this money. You've got $3,500 unspent that you could have, you know, spent and used. Yeah. Also, I've said before that I really like an elevator drop like this, in this area, rather than a drop all the way into the guy's mineral line. If you're going to drop the guy's mineral line, drop a small number of troops and then run away as soon as you've done some damage, because drops all the way deep into someone's base like this are suicidal. And I don't mean suicidal like a horrible idea, I mean suicidal like, sure, you might do enough damage for the fact that your troops to have died to be okay, but your troops are gonna die. You can't get away. What you want is to do a drop across here, and then have your medevacs here, and then if worst comes to worst, you might lose half your army, and then be able to fight with that half up here, or lose this half of your army and get to fight with the guys down here, or better yet, fight with the guys down here unmolested while these guys get attacked, and then load them into the dropships and run away, and that'd be even cooler. But anyway, so the badness of this attack came mostly down to the lack of reinforcements, to the fact that this army is the army you had at 15 minutes. You made these guys at 15 minutes. It's 17 minutes and 20 seconds in, and you're still fighting with the same guys you made at 15 minutes. That's bad. So this army did great. It did really well, and I'm glad that it did great, and that's good. But it would have done a lot better if it were $3,000 bigger. Like right now, sorry, the entire force that you have in his base is 8, 9, 10, 11 guys, and your army is 35 plus 4. So, yeah, you've got 1/3 of your army in his base. And it's never good to be fighting with 1/3 of your army. I don't really like that as a general concept. This went really well, though. Good work. And here comes the reinforcements. This is good. But again, right, pull them to here. That's good. Fight near a wall because you never want to be surrounded. One of the tenements, or one of the foundations of Ling versus Marine combat, is that Lings win hands down every situation. Unupgraded versus upgraded. If you guys both spent the same amount of money, Lings will win, no matter what. You can change all sorts of variables, the Lings will always win. The one variable you can't change is if the Lings can't get us around, they don't win. Marines win. So make sure he never surrounds you. That means fight next to walls. That means fight across boundaries where he can't surround you there. Means lots of stuff. So you see how this medevac cloud is just kind of building and building and floating and floating? This is awesome. This is where the suicidal aggression really comes into play. I think what this really came down to is the lack of a third. I've said a lot of times, your main loses its first mineral chunk at 15 minutes, and by 15 minutes with constant SCV production, you will have probably 70, and max saturation on 2 bases before you lose any chunks is 60 SCVs. So way back here at 15 minutes, you started to become oversaturated, right? You already have 65 units. With 65 SCVs, you need 3 bases already. You need 3 bases already before even considering that your main's about to run dry. But as your main starts to run dry, like you've already lost a mineral chunk, even at 14 minutes, you definitely need a fourth, maybe, you know? Third and a fourth. So you did great. You won this game, hands down, if you had made another command center. I don't know why you didn't either, because this first attack went so well, but you had map control. You had ground superiority map control, which is my absolute favorite kind of map control. Right? You wipe out his army, he's focused entirely after losing an entire army. Look at how beautiful that was right here. The Marines are getting caught in that little triangle, and then it's nice. It's really well. So now you have ground superiority map control, meaning that all of his attention is focused on making more troops so that he can kill these troops, and making more troops so that he can kill these troops, and defending against your reinforcements. Now, your income with 70 workers will be about 2,500 to 3,000 if they all have their own mineral patches to mine from. So you're up to almost 80 workers, and you have literally half the income you should have. You should have double the income you have right now. And this is all because you didn't expand. So, lots of great things, but you definitely needed to expand earlier. And I hate saying such obvious things like that. Like, anyone could look at this and say, yeah, you need to expand. But that's really the main problem in this game. So now you're double expanding, but remember, when you take an expo, it's going to be 3 minutes before it pays for itself. So expoing at 18 minutes means it's not going to pay for itself until 21, and we know that you were behind at 14. So you went from 14 to 21 with constantly inferior income to what you could have had. That's a lot. That's 7 minutes. That's a third of the game that you had SCVs that were basically AFK. Like, imagine if you had an idle SCV thing right here that said 40, probably 60, because right now you literally have 70 idle SCVs. If you watched somebody play and they had 70 idle SCVs in a little box over there, you'd be like, what the hell? But just because there's no idle SCV marker, you didn't notice that you had the exact same problem as that. You won. This was great. Good job. But obviously, without the expo, big problems, man. Big problems. And also, without the reinforcing units, you pushed out at 1430 and then attacked all the way into 1730 with the units that you had made at 1430. You had all this unspent reinforcement time going on. Anyway, that was great. That just shows how powerful you can be even when you totally fuck up something really important. Right? Totally fuck up something really important.